Hi, everybody. What's going on? It's me, John D. Villarreal. And there's a lot to talk about here. The super genius and the four-time national champion. Wow, 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 wow. Now, okay, I'm trying some new settings out here. Yeah, I definitely need to adjust that. Okay, let's get a boom. That should help. Quick adjustment there. Okay, and let's make sure our audio is where we want it to be. I think so. Let's do this and let's do that. That should be better. Okay. Well, let's hope so. Anyway, listen, lots to talk about here, lots to talk about. I'm going to, once again, we're live on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn at the same time. Trying some different settings out here, so hopefully it will be good, and we'll go from there. A lot to talk about. People seem to enjoy the show last night. If you're joining the show, you can comment here live on YouTube, and I'll see it there, and I'll take the comments, and we'll talk about it. I will also respond later on Facebook and on LinkedIn as well. I'm not sure I'm 100% happy with these settings, but that's okay. I know how to adjust in the future. Sometimes I'm not. Anyway, doesn't matter about that. It's fine. Big announcement here, and I don't like to say anything's 100% until it's 100%. This is all my personal opinion only, not alleging facts, not casting any aspersions, all for entertainment purposes only. Please check disclaimers. But we are very close now. I believe I've got a sponsor lined up. I just talked to the owner of the radio station, in my opinion, and there's been an ongoing discussion. I was talking to, in my opinion, 3 different stations. I've done major market talk radio. That's how I started. And you may hear it in the voice, who knows, in the presentation. That's how I started in media, right, in professional media. And I've been doing it on and off for a long time. Sacramento, Salt Lake City, San Francisco, Miami, and now I'm bringing it here to the Tampa Bay area. It should be pretty cool, the greater Tampa Bay area. So we're going to be doing, I think the reach is, I'll double check this, but I'm pretty sure that you should be able to hear it in the greater Tampa Bay area. I think all the way down to Sarasota. I think up close to Port St. Newport Richey. I don't have all the geography figured out here. Certainly St. Petersburg, and then I think over to Lakeland. But I'm not alleging anything, and I will double check that. I believe I've got my sponsor lined up, and then we're going to hopefully expand that. A lot of people are like, hey, why radio, John? Like, how does that make any sense? And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why we want to do radio. And I might just change these settings on the fly. I'm not 100% happy. I might go back to it. We'll see. Let's just do something right there. And I don't know. I go back and forth. I'm not sure which one's better. We'll try both. Who knows? I might go back and forth during the broadcast here. I really don't know which one I like better. That looks a little, hold on. I'm going to go back and forth here. Just bear with me on this one. Yeah, I think I know what's going on here. Okay. Well, I'll live with this, but I know where I want to adjust going forward. Okay. So why radio? Well, there's a lot of reasons. And number one, I'm good at it. Number two, I'm going to simulcast at the same time. Like, why not? Like, if the deal, I was working on the deal to make the deal right. The deal's right, In my opinion. Could be better. Could always be better. But if I can get more reach while I'm doing the show, I think that makes a lot of sense, right? I mean, so the idea is to be, I'm still going to figure out because of the, and I'm not getting into everything here. I need to figure out if I can do this live on LinkedIn just because of the way, in my opinion, that works. I need to send them an email and kind of figure it out. And I need to figure that out, but it will be live on YouTube. It will be live on Facebook. It will be live on the radio. And I'm supposed to be on in that 3:15 to 5 p.m. slot, which is a fantastic slot starting Monday. Maybe the Monday, this upcoming Monday. We're trying to get it in place. We're trying to figure it out. Everything on my personal opinion only, as I said. And the station is going to be 1040 a.m. I kind of had my pick of formats. I've done different things to say, hey, what do you want to do, right? I mean, do you want to do sports? Do you want to do news talk? I'm like, here's kind of what I'm looking at. And I'll read what I wrote on LinkedIn because I thought that was, well, I don't know if I can do it right now because I'm doing the show and I don't want the show to come up while I'm doing the show. But basically I'm like, look, it's kind of going to be a mashup, right? It's going to be a combination. And I was doing this. I've always done this. I've always done mashups. If you look at my stuff way back, I mean, in my opinion, I was doing Joe Rogan stuff before Joe Rogan. Of course, he's way bigger, way more successful. And if I could even get a fraction of that success, and all props to him. But kind of like I was saying, kind of like Joe Rogan meets, you know what? Let me try to pull it. Let me see if I can pull this up successfully here without messing myself up here. We're gonna take a shot at this. So stay with me on this one. Stay with me on this one as we're doing it here in real time. In terms of what the show is going to be like, but I think also one of the questions I want to discuss and want to talk about is why radio, and I think I'm going to be able to answer that because it's really wild to me that a lot of people are like, oh, radio's, I'm not that interested in radio. Radio's done, blah, 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 whatever. And I'm like, what? Like, how do you say that? Now, again, I mean, more distribution is more distribution, right? I'll hand out flyers, right? If around the neighborhood, of course, if I'm legally, ethically, morally allowed to do so, whatever, right? I mean, that's what right. I always do everything. You want to do everything right? And so, I mean, of course, and look at all the disclaimers in YouTube and all that. But the point is that, more distribution is more distribution. Marketing is marketing. You need to get out there. You need to talk to people. You need to have conversations. You need to be able to talk about what you're trying to do. And so in terms of what the show is going to be like here, this is what I wrote down here on LinkedIn a few hours or several hours ago, I guess. And, it's going to be right. And so I'm going to have a broad, I went with the news talk station instead of the sports station. I could have done definitely done the sports thing. And I think the sports station is a station that's, definitely, in my opinion, has some traction. You've got a big name personality in this area on that station, and there certainly were advantages to doing that and going that route, for sure. But I just felt like I would be a little bit more, even though I had sort of the green light, in my opinion, to kind of do the show that I want to do. When you're on that sports station, I feel like there's a little bit more of a limitation there. Whereas with the news talk, I'm going to have a much more open venue. And particularly like if I do want to talk about some of the political things or get into some of the topical things, then that's a natural parlay there. That's a natural segue because they have the Fox News feed and they have some of the Fox News personalities there. So I felt like that kind of made more sense. But in terms of what I'm trying to do, and again, I'm going to have my unique take on it. It's going to be, as I said here, quote, I think, this is, I'm quoting myself, right? I have my choice of formats, stations, and again, all my personal opinion only, 10:40 a.m. or 8:20 a.m., but I think the 10:40 a.m. gives me a broader range of topics / genres, including more automotive, tech, healthcare, video games, and business topics, as well as my own unique spin on news talk. Think Joe Rogan meets Gary V / Patrick Bet David meets Dr. Disrespect meets Mark Fedden, Brad Feld, Kevin O'Leary, Mike Moritz, with my own unique take on news talk politics, occasionally meeting Jim Rome, right? When I want to throw in some sports there, absolutely, the 4-time national champion. I mean, who knows who I might have on to talk about that. And I'm all about that. I love my sports contacts and talking sports and getting into it. We'll talk about MMA here in a little bit with the upcoming Jones versus Cyril Gane fight. I think that's very interesting. But I just don't want to have to do it every show or feel like I have to do that or I owe that to the audience or have to do it, if I do extend this into a daily every day, during the weekdays. I want to be able to have that flexibility like a Joe Rogan, right? I mean, he can talk MMA, he can talk about, that kind of deal, and then he can pivot into whatever, the universe, the stars, fill in the blank. I want to talk to very, very interesting people. Now, going on what I said there, and even a dash of healthcare via special guests. Perhaps we'll have some of my friends from Hopkins, Johns Hopkins University, Johns Hopkins Medicine, et cetera. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do, right? That's what I want to do. And they're like, well, you're all over the place. No, is Joe Rogan all over the place? I mean, particularly now when we're going to have not just and I'm going to dive into that a little bit more, the theory of the show and what I'm going to do the show. Oh, by the way, just a programming note, my daughter may be coming in here and I think she wants to join the show and talk about dancing and all that type of stuff. So just heads up on that. This show might be a little all over the place. So I'm just letting you know that. I'm going to talk about how I'm going to approach the show and sort of my theory of the show, but I want to talk about why radio first, because it's so interesting to me that people are just like, oh, radio's, why do radio? It's done. Our audience isn't on radio. And I'm like, really? I'm not so sure about that. And of course, it depends on who you're talking to and what you're talking about, obviously. But let's just talk very briefly about radio. I'm not going to make the full case here, but I'm just going to hit some highlights, and I'll put the links, as I usually do, in the video description on YouTube for you to see this. And I'm sure I'm quite sure I could do. And someone else mentioned this too. I am going to up the production. I can do the sharing the screen and all that. I just don't want to. I don't know that I want to do that right now. I mean, I'm always like, doing these shows in the last second and just trying to throw some things together. So I don't want to have to get into that. So I have I don't know. I just want to test some things out, step by step here and all that. And so here's the deal. If we're looking at, there's so much to talk about here, right? Here's the deal. Okay. And this is from December 28th, 2022, Musical Pursuits, right? Radio statistics in 2023. I can't see, did they sign at the bottom? I'm trying to find the authorship here. I'll put the link in there. I don't see that, so maybe it was just sort of the generic site, or I can't find it very quickly. My apologies if I couldn't find it, all right? And that is like, look, more Americans listen to radio than use Facebook every week. That's, what else do you have to say, right? That's insane. Quote, adults listen to 104 minutes of radio per day. That's insane, right? 55% of Gen Z listens to AM, FM radio every day, not Spotify, not Pandora, not streaming. And it's huge, okay? It's a huge deal. I saw somewhere else where radio has the largest reach. Here's another thing here. Radio NK, June 30th, 2022 by Radio Inc. Radio's reach is still massive. That's the headline. And it was basically something to the effect of 93% of the U.S. population is reached per month by radio. That's absolutely massive. That is absolutely massive. There's another thing here where I saw, and I have all these things opened up somewhere, and it was something about like the myths versus the realities of radio. Oh, I see. There's another thing too. Here's the thing. I'm all about digital, and we're going to have the digital component, right? We're going to have that. We're going to be live on LinkedIn. Well, we're working on. I'm going to work on LinkedIn, so I can't promise that yet because I need to make sure that everything's synced up right there. In my opinion, the issue is, I don't know. I haven't seen. So I'm one of the early people. I don't want to get too deep into this, and I'm going to write them an email. But I think if you look at the LinkedIn Live sort of parameters, there's something about non-promotion. Now, of course, being a radio show, we're going to have ads. I haven't seen a live radio show on LinkedIn Live. I may be the first, and I'm one. I am sponsored. Oh, by the way, and we're on using Melon App right now. I am sponsored by Melon App to do the live shows and a lot of the focus on the business stuff and stuff. So we're definitely going to rock and roll on that, in my opinion. But worst case scenario, I just post it later, right, on LinkedIn. Not a big deal. I'm sure we'll figure. I mean, I'm not sure. I'm hopeful we will figure something out. I mean, because I think that it would be understood that it's within a radio contacts, and they're going to have radio ads. So I just got to figure it out. I'll send an email and we'll just see. Worst case scenario, like I said, I post it later. But anyway, we're going to be live on Facebook, going to be live on YouTube, going to be live on the air in radio. And someone said this too, and he's like, I'm saying three things at once. If you're doing digital, This is how my mind works, right? I talk fast, but my mind's even faster. And then this is from Media Tracks, and I'll put this in here. Quote, this is, I think, some survey or something. It was a panel, right? Quote, which is best at driving digital? The third best thing to drive your digital campaigns was radio, according to this survey, right? So it's not one or the other. They can work hand in hand. The other thing that I saw here, and this is myth versus reality, right? We talked about some of these things about why radio and how much radio reaches, right? And I think, yeah, myth, quote, the best way to reach millennials is advertised on television. Reality, TV ads only reach 73% of consumers 18 to 34, whereas AM/FM reaches 93%. Like, that's what I'm talking about. People don't understand this. And it also talks about how, people, everyone's streaming in the cars. No, radio, AM/FM, quote, AM/FM remains a centerpiece of audio consumption, ... 8 times out of Pandora, ... 19 times out of Spotify. What? I mean, people need to understand and wake up. I mean, this is what I'm talking about. You have a major market. Think about this. And we'll bring it back to automotive. Think of how powerful this statement's going to be, right? In my opinion. You have someone here that is a major market talk radio talent. Prove it, right? Across the country, in my opinion. Also an automotive expert. Right? I mean, record breaker and from all different, and I've worked at all different brand levels and stuff, everything from VW all the way up to Ferrari. Okay. What media source is super synergistic with automotive, in my opinion? Where do you listen to the radio? In your car or truck. Right? And someone shared this with me, and it's so true. We get so caught up and I think our own biases, our own lifestyle. You just naturally think that everybody's like you or thinking like you. I'm not saying me. I mean, I just think that just happens, right? And so they're like, hey, John, I have a work truck and I don't even have Bluetooth in it, right? I can't call anyone. I don't have Sirius satellite radio. I don't have any of that. Well, so what do they have? They have AM, FM. That's what they're tuning into. When they get sick of the music, what do? AM talk or FM talk. I think we're having FM repeater. So it's just such a natural draw. You can be talking about stuff automotive and or an event, you can get someone in there right there. They're listening to you in the car. It's so immediate, right? And again, we're not losing that digital component. We're having the digital component. It's going to be on there. So then the question is, if I'm doing this show that I can immediately hit on the radio, why would I do that? It's just more reach. It's just a bigger platform. It's just more distribution. That's like saying if I have if I'm selling water or a candy bar, do I want it in Whole Foods? Sure. Would you also want to put it in an H-E-B or Kroger's or a Publix? Absolutely. Why? It's more distribution. It just makes sense. It's common sense, right? So then the question just becomes, well, okay, what about the time commitment? Same time commitment. Okay, great. What about the business model economics? Worked it out. So if it makes sense, it absolutely makes sense. And what's great about that is if it works, I can rapidly scale that distribution. And then I'll share another thing for my political friends out there or other people. Oh, radio, forget about radio. You know who? And look up the name. And again, it's not about the politics, left, right, or anything. I'm just talking about the business. I'm talking about media. We're talking about marketing now. This is a marketing discussion. You ever heard of someone named Jesse Kelly? About 10 years ago, you probably didn't. Maybe even 7 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago. For a lot of people, even 2 years ago. Jesse Kelly is a big name that's now making a transition, started in radio, in Texas. And now, boom, national show, etc. Also, Joe Pags. Look at that. Same type of thing. Texas, radio. It's still working out there. There is an interesting play with radio. I don't want to get too deep into that. I can get into that. And it's different than it was, right? It used to be like the days of, hey, I'm a new talent and I made it up to the bigs now. I worked my way up through these, the lower markets, and then I got into the major markets, top 30 and above, and I worked my way up, and now I've got that big contract and you're going to get that huge contract. Okay, those days are pretty much done. It's not like, hey, you're going to get this massive contract. And then you also have a lot of national shows that are already established out there. The national talkers fill in the blank, right? That have the national distribution, and maybe they take half the ads, and the local gets half the ads, and the local gets the free programming, and they get free distribution, or not free. And I'm thinking, I'm not alleging anything. I'm just going through potential hypothetical business models. But within that milieu, it's the same thing with real estate, right? Everything is local. I mean, it creates an opportunity, because how many station owners locally can find this kind of talent that also has digital, that also has connections with potential sponsors and advertisers that can sell? That you always find. I mean, it's hard to find talent that can sell. It's hard to find sales talent and marketing talent, sales talent and communication talent, and let alone that understands how to bring that together. And I am that unicorn that can do that. So now if you're able to get in there and figure out the right deal, the right structure, and you have the talent, that's a beautiful thing, right? For everybody involved. And so it makes insane, ridiculous sense, in my opinion. I'm not saying it's oh my goodness, this is gonna I'm not saying I'm taking over Tampa. I'm not saying I'm gonna have the best show. I mean, I hope to do all of that, right? But I'm saying that it absolutely makes sense. I'm saying that it's going to be a unique show. I'm saying that you're not going to be able to hear this show anywhere else, and it's going to be different. It's going to be a hot take. We're going to be able to. What's great about me is I can talk to anybody about anything. So, think Joe Rogan's fantastic, and absolutely. I would love to interview him sometime, love to be on a show sometime, all the rest, right? At this point right now, today, I have no idea what's going to happen in the future. And nor am I liable for whatever anybody else does, right? I'm talking about this day right now, February 8th, 2023. Who knows what happens in the future? Okay, but the difference is and then again, I'm not slamming anyone. I don't need a staff. I'll take it. Don't get me wrong, but you'll see what I'm going. I don't need a staff. I don't need preparation. I can talk to a top scientist, a presidential fellow. I can talk to someone like that. I can talk to someone, a professional MMA fighter. I can talk to a general manager or owner of a car dealership. I can talk to them all and make it interesting. I can talk about this water bottle and make it interesting. I can talk about the old saying, right? Sell me the pen, all that type of stuff. All of that, right? But it's not just me, it's you. It's our conversation. We're going to bring that out to people. We're going to talk about everything. It's not just about me. I want to talk to the best of the best out there. I want to talk to the leaders. I want to have interesting conversations that's going to impact Florida, St. Petersburg, Tampa, Sarasota, Lakeland, Newport Richey, all that. And then if that works, then we can expand that very quickly. Okay? That's no problem. So, there's a lot of potential, a lot of opportunity, a lot of places to go with that. And I think that there's a strong need for talent. Listen, again, I want to be careful what I say. But I think the problem is, what's great about me is every time you tune in, it's going to be something different. You don't know what I'm going to say. You don't know what's going to happen. But it's going to be interesting. Absolutely. Some of these shows I listen to, and if I listen once a week, even sometimes once a month, I got it. And listen, these people are way more successful and have way more money than me and all that. And as I said, who knows? It could all, maybe this all doesn't come together. Maybe I can't at the last minute. It doesn't, who knows? Sponsor drops. Who knows? Anything can happen, right? I don't know. Nothing's done till it's done. So no guarantees. And I make moves in my life, and I'm not afraid to take risk. Okay. Like I said, I may be homeless in 6 months. I don't think so. Well, I hope not. Right. But I think particularly now there's such a need for how do I say this right? I want to spin this in a different way. So give me a second here. I think people need to stand up. Okay. And I think people need to really give voices. So there's two concepts at the same time. One is with great power comes great responsibility, right? That line from Spider-Man and all that. And I think that's right, and I feel like I've amassed a lot of knowledge out there. I am a super genius. I've had a lot of experience, and I think this is a very, very challenging environment right now. And it's only going to get, in some ways, worse. But I think there's opportunities. I've always, what I love about this medium, and whether it's radio, whether it's YouTube, it's Melon app, it's LinkedIn, is I want to give my, whatever I have, intelligence, wisdom, value added, whatever. I want to give that back to people. I want to help you. I want to help you with what you're doing. I'm shoulder to shoulder with you. I'm going to figure out different things. I'm probably launching the digital marketing agency. I may even do something where I'm not alleging. I'm not promising anything. I may even give out a situation where I offer the first 2, 3, 5. I don't know. I may do free videos for a little bit. I may go into dealerships or tech companies and do some free consulting, and we'll have it on the show. We'll talk about it. We'll break it down. We'll do case studies. I don't know. I'm not saying I will, but I might. I might do some crazy stuff to help people through, to help you potentially through this whole recession thing, this all the stuff coming out. At the same time, I also think that there's this other lane as part of it too. This other situation where, and I'll talk about this more tomorrow about what I'm doing and what I'm up to. But I think part of it is I got to a point where, I just want to be, I want to be happy, right? I want to be happy, and I want to be in a situation where I'm fully utilizing my talents. And I got a lot of talents. I mean, the problem is when you're high horsepower, right, that never really shuts off. That's a different thing. We'll talk about that, and I've talked about that before. But, I've laid it all out there, and I've lived my life in some ways in front of the camera, in front of the microphone and stuff. But I backed up what I said. I told people I was a super genius, and I proved it. I mean, you've seen that video up there. I have the piece of paper. I told people I'm a champion powerlifter. I proved that, right? I've proven it, right? And so I want to use that. I want to utilize that talent. When you're a racehorse, you want to run. When you're an Indy 500 car, when you're a top athlete, like, you want to do that type of stuff. So there's nothing beneath me or above me or anything like that. But at the same time, like, if you're a fighter pilot, you want to fly. You get me? So, that's part of it, right? I need to be that's my artistry and stuff. Okay. The other thing, that third component, that's kind of the middle component. The third component, so the main step one is I really want to help people. Step two is that middle component, I guess, is there's just my artistry and what I want to be able to do and be able to use my gifts and be able to fully, realize what I'm about, I guess, if you will. But that third main component, I guess, and I don't want to be overly dramatic or anything like that, but I think there's a point, right? And Sarah Huckabee Sanders, Governor Huckabee Sanders said it last night, and I don't want to, I'll use her line. I'm not saying I'm endorsing it, okay? So just bear with me on that. But I think that, the choice is, 2024 is between, I don't want to use her line. And you know what? I'll let her speak for herself, and I don't want to use that line. But let me put it like this. I'm going to totally, let me revise and amend that. So forget about that. I've already done a show where I said 2023 is going to be the year of reality, right? And I think that things are so rapidly changing, and things have been hyper partisan and maybe a little out there, a little crazy. I think people, what's that old saying, right? I mean, that, and I don't want to be overly dramatic, so I'm going to modify that too. I think people need to step up. Me, you, we need to step up and speak about what we believe in, right? You need to show up. It can't just all be sellouts, all be about the money, and I don't want to say anything, and I don't want to get canceled or whatever. Now, I'm someone that wants to add way more light than heat. There's a lot of stuff. I've seen other people that have much more professional success than I have. because I just won't do certain things. You know what I mean? Like, so, but at the same time, like, I will do a lot of things and I will step up. I'm kind of speaking in code of language. I can't, like, because I'm trying to be very diplomatic in how I approach this. Look, there's a way to approach what's going on in business, politics, all these things, where I think, whether it's what you want to call it, the silent majority, whatever you want to call it, people need to speak up. There's a way, I think we're at a point now where people are sick of the craziness and sick of the hyper partisanship, right? I'm for peace, love, opportunity, freedom, equality, inclusiveness for everybody, right? And you know, you look at look at the crypto thing, right? I never liked that whole scene. And now you see FTX, and again, I'm not casting aspersions and everything. I'm just talking about my opinion, but that's just one thing. But I was speaking truth to power on that scene for a long time. You can see the videos. When it's Miami, here we go, 305. We're changing everything. It's new money. Join the bandwagon. I'm like, no, that doesn't make any sense. And how many people lost money in FTX? Or insert name here. And I still get emails. It's not just all about politics. It's all of this stuff. I still get emails routinely on LinkedIn saying, oh, hey, we're crypto this and we're raising money or whatever it is. And like, did you get the memo? Like, dude, that party's way over. In my opinion, what's going on? I still see these postings about, you know, and I don't want to make it personal or anything like that, but it's like, it's this, you know, fill in the blank, NFT, Web3, crypto, super left wing stuff, and everything's left. It's like, it's almost like it feels like it's like, you know, those machines where the money goes up and you're just in there grabbing the money. It feels like, in my opinion, this money grab, but it's all the left-wing stuff. And we saw some of that today with the whole Twitter stuff, right? The executives on Twitter. Some of these Congress people are like, what's going on? I think Elon even posted something like, what's going on? These tech companies have become way, way too activist. And it doesn't make any sense. Oh, I think the video shut out. Okay. Listen, we're going to have to reconvene here. I'll come back here. I'm going to figure out what's going on with the video. I will come back here. Stay with me. I will be back. Give me, worst case scenario, I'll switch up to the other camera. Give me 5 minutes or less. Be right back.